eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Polarity. My name is Josh. 2 times in a day. How lucky am I? How good is that? And can I just say as well, that's twice in a day, in a row as well, that I've started the show right on time. So I'm proud of myself. That's my quota filled for the year. Don't expect me to be on time anytime soon. So we're going to be digging into part 2 of the S4 files, the secrets of S4. So this is kind of like a part 2 stream to what we did yesterday. And like I said, we're going to be doing these throughout the week, probably the next 3 to 4 days. I reckon there's a lot of footage to get through. If you haven't seen yesterday's stream, it's okay, because yesterday was more of like a prologue. So this is obviously all about S4, and today we're going to be focusing on a whistleblower who claims he saw alien beings there, craft, and also was a contract killer for the CIA, and he talks all about that crazy stuff. But from here we kind of go, let me just fix that up there. From here, we kind of go really into the story. So if you haven't seen yesterday, don't stress. You can watch it later. It's more of a prologue. Today is where things really kick off. So I'm excited to get into that. I will just say as well, because I have seen a few people mention it, YouTube have just started a new thing with a live chat where you get a crown next to your name for the top 3 chatters. Okay. It's nothing... My phone has been doing that every stream. It just starts randomly playing my own stream, and I don't even have it up. It's very strange. It's just like a little fun thing that resets every live stream. So every stream you have the chance to wear the crown for the top 3, and it's just by being active with chats, super chats, and super stickers. So have fun with that. Just a little bit of something extra. Suki's here. She's cozy. I reckon we should get straight into this because we've got a lot to get to. So, like I said, we're going to kick this off. We're going to be cutting straight to Wendell Stevens, who we looked at quite a bit yesterday, and he is going to be telling us kind of how Connor O'Ryan came to him, like how he got in contact with this whistleblower, what the story was, and then we get into the interviews with Connor himself. And the way this show is cut, it's a little bit kind of jumpy, a little bit back and forth, but when it's kind of mushed together, it does tell us a pretty clear story, but we'll be checking in and chatting about it along the way. So here we go. Part 2, Connor O'Ryan, Navy SEAL, CIA killer.
The government is not going to open the files. We have people, prominent people, that know all about what the government is sitting on. Dick Cheney, vice president, was photographed at level 2 of S4 looking at one of 7 crash disks. Good morning.
We hear a lot about Dick Cheney, don't we? They just said Dick Cheney was photographed in S4 looking at flying saucers. I wonder where those photographs are.
Nice to see so many here this early in the day. I was asked to talk about this event that happened 10 years ago that I've been sitting on all this time because I never knew whether it was a disinformation ploy to discredit me or not.
I like that. He was sitting on this story for a while because he didn't know if it was disinformation.
When I was going to mention this in Australia, and I only agreed to mention it over in a telephone conversation, before I left for Australia, I received my last serious threat. And before I came here, after Bob distributed the schedule with the information on it that I'd talk about this case, I received another threat. And it came in the form of a male voice on my telephone. It rang. And the voice simply said, "Stevens, be absolutely certain you know what you're doing." And it clicked and hung up.
So I think this is in Australia, which is interesting, in 2001, I believe. So again, he's sitting on this story for about 10 years. This is early 90s stuff.
So if they're going to really do something, they don't warn you in advance. So I usually don't take those things too seriously, although I know that they know what I was going to say. And they really don't want me to tell you what I'm going to tell you. So I've decided to publish this for the first time, the whole story, and you can decide for yourself. If I am successfully discredited over it later, then they won. If it continues to stand, then I win.
Interesting. I mean, I would say at this point, sounds like they won. Not that I would say, I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of stuff out there to try and discredit Wendell Stevens. But, you know, I feel like a lot of these voices, Bob Dean, Wendell Stevens, many others, they've just been kind of like lost to the void of time. And that's why I love revisiting this old footage from 80s, 90s. These old interviews, I think, are just gold. And we shouldn't forget about this stuff.
So it began 10 years ago. I got a call one time from, I get a lot of calls, and this man said that he'd like to come over and look at pictures. So I usually discourage that. And he said that he had some pictures for me. I said, oh, to trade we can exchange? He said, yes, we can exchange. And I said, well, okay, come on over then. And he said, I'll see you, and he hung up. And about an hour later, I got another call from him. He said that he had checked out of his apartment, gone to the bank to get some money, and when he put his card in the automatic teller machine, it came up account sealed or account frozen or something like that. And he said I got money in the bank. He said, so I just went to another machine and used another card. That one was frozen. He went to the bank to draw it out over the counter, and they told him that his account was frozen. He couldn't get any money out. So he called me back. He said, I fear something serious. He said, I can't get any money anyplace. All of my accounts are frozen. I have $300,000 in the bank. I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, I want to come over and show you and print some pictures with you. I said, oh.
So just being in contact with Wendell Stevens, and he's already got his bank account frozen. It's crazy how much reach, you know, these overarching power structures seem to have when they want to have it. Emily Hitt, welcome. A returning member. Can we get some Polarity love and hearts in the chat for Emily? Thank you for your support, Emily. Appreciate you.
Okay. How much is your bus fare? He was calling me from the bus station. He said it's about $100, but I can't get any money to cover it. I said, okay, is there a convenience store around there? I'll wire you enough money for the bus fare. By Western Union, you can go over there, give my name as control, and draw the money out, which we did. Money transfer, where I sent money for him to buy the bus ticket to come over and see me. He said he had something for me.
So this is interesting. Like, as we go through and watch this, Wendell Stevens actually has like a lot of like documentation to support what he's saying. He's saying this is the bus ticket that he bought for this whistleblower when he came. Also, just while it's on my head, next stream, I'm going to try and fix this chat box so we can see the custom emojis, and we can see your display pictures, and we can see your member badges next to your name on the screen. That's just a little mental note.
This is a follow-up. When he said he didn't get it, I went back to Western Union, had to make me a copy. And he got the money, and then he called me and he said, I'm a little worried. He said, I see the same man wherever I'm going, reading a newspaper. And he said, this is suspicious. So he said, but I'll see you. And he told me when the bus would arrive. When he got there and I picked him up at the station, he said, I didn't bring the pictures. He said, I got a little worried about possibly being followed. And after he got the ticket, he thought he saw the same person standing behind the newspaper watching him, and later reading a magazine at the newsstand, always within sight of him, and he got a little paranoid about that. And the fact that he had the pictures in his pocket, and he thought he ought to safeguard it something. So I went out behind the bus station, got a hard box, a car starter box, a good sturdy box, put the package in the box and put rocks in it, took it in and had the station wrap it and address it to ship it on the bus. And he said when they got it wrapped and I tried to pay for the shipment, they collected for the shipment. They said it couldn't go on the same bus, there wasn't enough time. It would come on a following bus. So he said I had to get on it and come on. He said, but it'll be in behind us.
So to separate himself from the photos is not a very bright move.
Well, he thought he could get him on the same bus with him, and he took the box.
This sounds like kind of sus to me, right? So Ryan O'Connor, sorry, I keep saying that backwards. I don't know why. Connor O'Ryan is trying to meet up with Wendell Stevens with photographs, right? And they're saying that he couldn't take them on the bus, so he decided to separate himself from them and put them on the next bus because they couldn't fit the luggage. Now, I don't know if there was more involved in it, but like, it's photos. Put them in your pocket. I don't know. That part seems a little odd to me, especially separating yourself with them if it is such extraordinary evidence. Just a little footnote, I think, worth mentioning.
Had the bus station wrap it and address it to me at Tucson for delivery, and he wanted to get it on the same bus with him, and they said they couldn't put it on the same bus. It would go on the next bus, being the following day.
And he allowed for that because then he's really
They're
separated from the
loading the
photos.
bus already, and they boarded him, and he got on the bus and came up. Picked him up at the bus station. I brought him out from the house. He was tired from traveling, and he laid on the sofa in the living room there, and I went to sleep. So we had the station check to see if they could find a record of a package. It was en route on the next bus. They didn't have any record of it. They said that's not normal. They don't usually do.
Aussie Platinum says he didn't want to carry them on him. That's true. I do think that is actually mentioned. That he didn't want to carry them on his body. But I guess it's strange to hear that you couldn't fit a package of photos on the bus that had to go on the next one. Like, that sounds strange. I'm not saying it's not true, but it is kind of odd.
Oh, in advance anyway.
And at what point did Bob Dean get to meet him?
Well, I was anxious to tell somebody, and Bob was my next door neighbor, and I knew that I could depend on him to keep the secret. We were afraid that we were being watched by 4 men in a white carryall that circled the block. But he was living around the corner from me the whole time that Contra Orion was there. He was keeping an eye on the house to see who else was hanging around or trying to look over the wall. Or
Had Bob ever let you know about the details of S4 at this point in time? Never discussed that at that point.
I was still keeping my oath of security, which I swore to.
Right.
But in 91, I gave that up. I said, "To hell with it, I'm going to tell it."
let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Now, at what point did Bob find out that Contra Orion was over at your house?
Connor was sleeping, and Bob came by in his sheriff's car, stopped in front to say hello, and I said, "I got to tell you something. I've got a man in here says he was a sentry at level 2, and he's sleeping on the sofa now, but I don't know what to do with him." He said, "Well, just listen to his story, see what he's got to say. We don't know anything about that."
Few people in the chat saying it sounds sus. It does sound sus, but you're going to get to hear from Ryan in a moment, and he's basically the majority of this video. So I think reserve your judgment, wait till you hear his story, and then see how you feel.
And so we waited for him to wake up. And Bob had to go out back to duty. He got back in his patrol car and left. Came back again later that evening, stopped again. And it was the next day, wasn't it, when you came back about the third or fourth time, Connor was up, and I said, "He's in the living room, but he's a little gun shy. If you want to take a look at him, that's what he looks like. I'll introduce you in a couple of days." Wasn't that it?
I think so. Yeah.
And what was your impression? Did you get a chance to meet Contra Orion, Bob? And what was your
I think I
impression?
met him briefly, didn't I? I can't remember.
Just shake hands. Connor didn't want to talk to anybody. He was scared, and Bob didn't want to get too involved in it. Bob was in uniform, and that was kind of scary.
I think that was wasn't that the time you asked me to take a video or something?
No, that was a little later, but we can go into that.
Here we go.
On Wednesday, all seemed normal, and we went out to breakfast. The young visitor asked a lot of questions about UFOs and my research. He said he found out about me and my interest in a book on UFOs, among the very few on the subject, in the Las Vegas Downtown Public Library. And he copied my name and address from it, and a call to the Tucson telephone directory gave him my telephone number. He said he was a U.S. Marine, a SEAL.
First of all, what's your background? Can you tell me
Here we
something
go.
about your background?
Okay, well, I joined the Navy. Yeah.
Let me know if you guys need more volume too. I can gain it.
I went into the Naval SEAL program and became a SEAL. I've been attached to the Special Forces, the Special Operations Department of Naval Intelligence for approximately 8-9 years now. I've been on a number of covert operations, and just recently, well, about a year ago, I was assigned to a place in Nevada.
Whistleblowers from the CIA, intel agencies, or the Pentagon are extremely sus. I agree, but it's like, where else would they come from? Like, you couldn't be a whistleblower without coming from those agencies. Like, I totally agree. Like, being sus from them is so valid, but that's, you know, if you're some guy who is just from the street and sees a UFO, you're not a whistleblower. You're just a guy who saw a UFO, and like, no, people just unfortunately don't listen to you as much.
which most people know as S4, as a sentry, which all sentries there are special forces personnel from all four. I've been there for, so I've recently been discharged for medically.
Sorry that the audio is a little bit up and downy. It's not as bad all the time, but it's because I clean the audio up with a program, because this is old footage obviously, and it's just like super hissy. They're outside as well. It's awful, especially if you got headphones on. So that's why the kind of the bad part of that is sometimes it does cut the voice a little bit.
I'm still checking that out. While my tour of duty there, I was a sentry in the complex, which is an extremely sensitive complex, which they have this there. I have positively identified 7 of them, and I've also identified 7 humanoid creatures with
7 humanoid creatures, he's saying, identified.
grayish skin. I don't know if that's because of their being in the tubes and the solution that they're placed in right now.
Tubes and solution that they're placed in. So that's, to me, is describing like the stereotypical like body in a vat type situation.
Right now, I'm basically on the run. I don't want to mention their colleagues. I don't know where basically my destiny holds for me at this moment. I know that this has to be said and brought out. And I've made contact here with Mr. Stevens because I feel he's has adequate connections to someday bring all this out in the open.
There you go. So he's saying he contacted Wendell Stevens because he believed he could be the guy to help bring this stuff out. It's a tough one. It is a tough one because, yeah, wearing the Navy SEAL hat, I don't know. It definitely does. It's completely valid that it's sus. Excuse me, that people are feeling sus right now. Carla Matter put in a $1.30 and says, just testing if my own bank account is frozen. Doesn't look like it. Thank you for the $1.30.
He was a sentry from level 2 of S4. There were 8 of them on duty at a time, 8 of them, and a sergeant in charge. The sergeant sat at a desk that overlooked the patrol area. They had to walk a beat inside of level 2. They were supposed to be walking it at attention. They weren't supposed to be looking around. They were supposed to, they were there to arrest intruders if they came in. But there were visitors that came from level 1 down to level 2 to go to levels 3 and 4. And if their right eye retinal scan and palm print and card didn't all match at the elevator, a bell would ring, and their job was to arrest and hold until somebody came down from level 1 and carried them away.
And what was his name?
His name was Derek Hennessy. He used the name Contra Orion.
So there you go. This guy's actual name is Derek Hennessy, and this Connor Orion is just a cover name, I guess, to go public with. People are saying he does look scared. Yeah, he does kind of have similar energy to Matthew Brown, to be honest, I would say. And it's interesting what Wendell's saying there, that this guy, he was a sentry, literally hired to, allegedly, stroll up and down the corridors of S4 and not even allowed to turn your head. Like, you must just look straight ahead at all times. And if anyone comes down and fails the retina scan to get in, arrested. Just like no questions asked, arrested.
At my house.
That's his job.
I don't know why I was picked for it. I have no idea at all. I've never expressed an interest in UFOs or flying discs. I mean, publicly.
You were first informed that you were secret base.
Do we know where he is now? No idea. That's why I found this interesting, because I've never heard of this guy before. And yeah, no
Do
idea.
you have any kind of written military transfer orders or
No.
how
I went to 36. I got off a submarine. I flew to Charleston, to Pensacola, to the Navy. San Diego. Went to 32nd Street. Naval facility there. I was briefed that I was transferred to a sentry duty, which I know that everybody's pretty much aware of all the facilities out in the Southwest region out here.
Where even are they in this interview? I believe from memory, when I scanned over this, he wanted to talk to them just like somewhere random and private. So they're just like climbed up a hill and they're just like in a bush. I'm pretty sure that's literally where they are.
Secrets of I've had a security plans for entering some of these facilities. Nothing like this before. I had no idea that I was going to be
Yeah, good point,
involved in
Sudi.
anything like this. When I first walked in, I was convinced that they were American prototype vehicles until I viewed the bodies. It's a little different.
So Connor O'Ryan starts telling you, Wendell, that he's been to S4, that he's been a sentry at level 2.
A sentry at level 2 of S4, and he told me that they live at that level. They have barracks facilities. They sleep in. Their meals are catered into them. They're told not to talk to each other at level 4, except in front of the television set watching ball games or at the table where they're eating. Otherwise, they're not supposed to be talking at all. Their names were taken away when they got the jobs, and they were given numbers. They were supposed to address each other by number.
Whoa.
They wore number tags, not name tags.
They have to call each other by numbers. Like that is like Orwellian. That is just like you like removing. It's dehumanizing. That's the word I'm looking for.
And he said that they walked their beat 4 hours on and 4 hours off round the clock. He was 29 years old, and for the last 9 months he had been assigned to Delta Force Team 6, a super elite cross-service activity that answered to none of the service commands, but to a command line of its own, answering directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I didn't know this even existed up to this time, and this was all new to me. He said he was, until 1 week ago, assigned to duty at S4 in Area 51, in the facility at the AEC reservation there in Nevada.
Hello, Swiss Miss. Nice to see you in the chat. Agent K, Agent M. Yeah, you're getting me in the mood for a bit of X-Files. Maybe we could do some X-Files after the stream.
He said he was a sentry who lived in quarters at the facility and whose duty post was on level 2 of a 4-level complex. He said there were no sentries below level 2, as all below that level was electronically controlled. And he did not know what was down there. And at level 2, they controlled access to 2 separate elevators that went down below, one to level 3 and another one to level 4. To use one of these elevators, it took a thumbprint and a matching retina scan of the right eye. Anyone who was not cleared by this process was immediately arrested, detained, and somebody came down from upstairs and got them. The sentries worked continuous shifts of 4 hours on and 8 hours off. They patrolled the area at station and were prohibited at attention and were prohibited from looking around or directly at anybody. They were not allowed to talk to each other or to anybody else in the facility.
Crazy.
Socialization off duty was discouraged, and the little conversation or discussion that was allowed to take place in the facility was done in front of the television set and at their catered-in meals, which made everyone pretty much of a loner in the facility. They all came from different locations. None of them knew each other before they got there, and acquaintance was discouraged in the facility. These men were given annual physical examinations every 3 months, during which time they were always hypnotized for about 1 hour. Even their most secret thoughts were probed.
Whoa.
These men were allowed 3 days of rest and recuperation leave in groups, taken to Las Vegas once a month.
So every 3 months they get hypnotized and mentally probed, I guess, to make sure they are not talking about things they shouldn't be, I guess. That's crazy. Like, I feel like when you're that deep in the military, you probably don't question it anymore. But like, surely at some point, after getting probed mentally and hypnotized every 3 months and being called number 7 your whole life and not being allowed to talk to anyone and not being allowed to not look straight ahead, dude, I am not built that way. I could not do that. The moment that was told to me, I would just be like, I'd rather fucking die. No thanks.
They were dropped off at the Imperial Palace Hotel on Las Vegas Boulevard in the forenoon of the first day and were picked up at 4 o'clock on the third day to go back to their facility. Rooms were provided in a special reserved section of the Imperial Palace maintained by the security agency in the back of the hotel. They were driven in a vehicle with blinded windows. They were offloaded in the hotel. They were picked up the same way and driven back to their home base in the same vehicle. Since they entered the area, the vehicle always had the windows blacked out. The men were, when they arrived back at their operating facility at S4, they were searched again. They were searched on the way out of the secured S4 facility and were searched again and given a polygraph test on the way back into the facility.
God. Like, just so meticulously combed constantly. You would feel so, yeah, like you would feel just like an asset, an expendable asset that you're just so like replaceable and just not human, not even seen as human. Maybe it's because the people in charge aren't human and that's why they don't look at humans like humans. I don't know. Just an idea. $10 from JL Lammy. If Dr. Giorgiani's theory is right and the Nordics are future humans, the reason for the divide is because of the very static top-down system that is in place. Interesting. I'd probably have to get a bit more on that theory to sort of comment further on it, but I'm a massive Giorgiani fan. Great guy. I love listening to him.
And
Thank
sometimes they were strip searched.
There's 15 sentries there that live on the base. Live in level 1. There's a barracks there, which gives us TV. The food there is all right. It's equivalent to being on a submarine, basically, to the barracks quarters.
Submarine? Flying submarines? Christina, hello. Good morning. Can't keep up with all the videos. Hey, that's a good thing. Got plenty to binge on.
Of course, you had experience on a submarine
Yes.
in preparation for this kind of isolation.
Yes, I've been on a 688 class submarine. I did 3 tours on it. Or hats like this, but they were just all black. This was just an old set of black fatigues. The shirts were just the same, just like a regular camo fatigue jacket. We carried Glock 9mm, the European-made 9mm, and sometimes we were distributed M16s, and sometimes we were distributed Ingram Mac-10s, 9mm. What would?
Yes, Suki, her whole life has been like crazy dreams, makes noises, runs, fidgets. Yeah, she is crazy. You'll see her do that a lot.
Be the occasion for changing the weapons.
I think if they feel that there's an outside threat on the base, I don't know if that's just information that they're receiving or a sensor's been breached like the night before. And maybe an M16, but a MAC-10 would be used just for in case somebody was going to sabotage the plane from inside personnel, or an overran because MAC-10 is excellent for an urban warfare, urban weapon. An M16 would be a good long range. There's no identification warrant at the facility. No people walking around with identification cards. No, but the sentries, there's no name tags on our uniforms. No. We don't wear no military medals. We don't. No stripes, no nothing. We wore black uniforms. At night.
That is interesting. He's saying no insignias, we didn't wear stripes, just black uniforms. That's exactly how Michael Herrera described the people that he encountered in the Indonesian jungle. Interesting. Someone did just say, I'm sorry, but this guy's vernacular does not align with someone who has experience in Special Forces or SEAL Team 6. I think that's a fair point. I mean, we probably haven't heard enough from him to fully judge his entire vernacular. And he is kind of, you know, if it's true, he's probably nervous and whatever. But also, you know, I think when it comes to getting people involved in these programs, they kind of do pull people from a little bit of everywhere, from my understanding. I mean, they said earlier that they actually did that with this program. Like, all the people who were in S4 as a sentry, according to this, didn't know each other, and that was intentional. They're purposely pulling people from all over so they don't know each other. A massive $30 from Daniel. Big fan, my fellow Aussie brother. Your channel will blow up, and I'm glad I found you early. Much love. Daniel, thank you, bro. It's a massive super chat. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you.
During the day we were
Sorry, Suki is an American Staffy.
brown.
I actually think she's probably a pit bull, but she was sold to me as an American Staffy.
Discussed. We called each other in the barracks, you know, by our ranks. We used to rank only. I mean, we were ranked, you know, individually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, 6 guys. At any given time, it was actually a detachment of 10 people, but in my detachment, we had all got there at the same time. We're all briefed at the same time, so I guess that they had relieved the whole complete detachment. But the other detachments, I know, were there for a little bit longer. As I say, I mean, we were on 4-hour shifts with an 8-hour off, 4 hours, 8 off, 4 on, 8 on. When we're off our shifts, we don't know what happens on another shift.
4 hours of just strolling the corridors, not being allowed to look left or right. Kill me now.
We're not briefed in any way whatsoever on anything that happened the night before or anything. We're told not to talk with any security personnel during any of our duties at all. We're not allowed to say one word. We're supposed to use peripheral vision at all times. We're not allowed to discuss any duties while we're in our cubicles at night, or so you can say. That's the way it was.
There were audio pickups all through the place, and if they talked to anybody else, they were called in and treated.
Our sole thing to do is just to be a sentry, an idiot, a grunt, not an idiot.
Hey, the whole thing is, as a sentry, is to just be an idiot, to be a grunt. That's what he's saying. At least he's honest. So let me just pop this up here. $10 from Lance. Keep pumping out the videos. Master Weirdo Josh, my brother from another alien mother. Lance, thank you, bro. I love that. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Just standing there. We don't hear no where everything's need to know, and we don't need to know nothing, so that's the way it was.
Need to know.
None of the chain of command was ever discussed. Our boss was the man to watch commander out front, which was in charge of all security.
Oh, sounds a bit awful.
If it was in charge of the facility or ran the facility.
Yes, this guy's real name is Derek Hennessy, and Conor O'Brien is the name that he came out with as a whistleblower. I've noticed a lot of people in the chat as well saying they're tuning in for the first time. Guys, welcome. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming to check out the live stream.
Been in the Navy, so I mean, with the Special Warfare Department so long that you know better than to ask questions for just don't have. As I said before, I've already been with the Special Forces for so long. I think that they really trusted me. I think they trusted everybody there because we're basic guns and everybody's expendable to them.
Yeah, dude, they definitely trusted you. That's why they hypnotized you and probed your mind every 3 months and searched you in and out of the facility. Yeah, they're the complete trust, bro. Yeah.
We can be written off very easily. Like, hey, these Special Forces, you knew that, tell me your parents, he was in Nicaragua, he got shot, that's all you need. Or, you know what I mean? He died in an accident. Parents are going to accept that because they've already accepted the fact that you're a Special Forces personnel and high risk job.
Okay, here we go. This is where it kind of gets... This is really interesting. Check this out. S4 Hitman.
He was a strong, healthy young man, robust. He joined the Marines and then stayed in the Marines, and he kept training up to a SEAL status and then a Black SEAL status, and which is the highest ranking or the highest trained level a Marine can reach. He was at a sergeant level when he was here, so he didn't have a real high Marine rank. But when I found the W4 in his wallet while he was taking a shower, he was drawing $72,000 a year on a commission from the CIA, which is about equivalent to a colonel grade.
So Wendell Stevens went through his wallet while he was having a shower. I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, if he did take him into his house and this guy's probably just come out saying some wild shit, I guess that's kind of fair. And discovered that he was getting $70,000 payments from the CIA.
He had sparse blonde hair. It wasn't not real shaggy hair. He was he stood very erect. He looked like a Marine, like a soldier. He had the blue eyes. He'd answer questions, but he didn't add a lot. If he didn't ask the question, you're not going to get any information. He wasn't very talkative. He had a tattoo on his right arm that he kept covered up, and he got a mark for each special mission carried out. Now, to him, his special missions were terminating enemies of the United States government. If they were characterized as enemies and they didn't want them to go to trial because the information might come out that would be of a sensitive nature, they would just terminate them instead. And he understood that was what he was doing, and that was it. To me, it's murder. To him, it was a mission.
Perspective, right? To him, it's murder. Well, to Wendell, it was murder. To Connor, it was a mission. And I think like that exact perspective there could be applied to everything in the UFO space. Like, I feel like most of these people who are involved in these programs, again, they're not Mr. Burns up in a castle going, yes, we're going to screw over the whole population. They think they're doing the right thing. Oh, and there's probably a small percentage of them that feel bad about it, but are probably stuck. I think you just got to have that perspective, right? It's not Mr. Burns up in a castle.
He was also living the life of a government assassin. All the special troops there apparently were being used for the same purpose. And they thought those assassinations were called missions, special missions. They got a special bonus for each special mission and a hatch mark on the arm.
One man's UFO is another man's bug. If you know, you know. Green eyes are the most rare. Is that true? I have green eyes. Although some days they're a little more hazel. Some days they're super green. And these young men were selected when they were in their high teens, very impressionable age. And they looked for people that already were patriotic. And they worked on the patriotism in boot camp until they became so patriotic that they would weep when the flag would go up and down the flagpole. That's like full-on indoctrination. That is brainwashing at its finest. They had these young men weeping as the American flag would get raised. Now, there's obviously nothing wrong with being patriotic. In fact, I think that's a great quality. I think we should all be proud of where we come from, 100%. But like weeping when the flag goes up, like you're brainwashed, bro. Green Eye Gang, let's go.
And they were training to take out America's enemies. And so for them to carry out one of these missions, all their leaders had to do was characterize somebody as a traitor or an enemy of the United States or a spy. And their job as top Marines was to take out the enemies of the country, and they would do it with no compunction. But even if it was a brother, they would do it, or a sister, a close relative.
See, like, if you indoctrinate people that much, all you then need to do is be like, see that guy over there, bro? Talking shit about America. He's spilling secrets. You're going to have to kill him. You're going to have to kill him. And they're that brainwashed that they're like, all right, yep, I'm doing the good thing for my country. And then actually you find out that person just wanted to, I don't know, put a tariff on America. You know what I mean? Like it could be for whatever reason, but they don't have to know the real reason. They just get told what they get told and they go and do the job.
Because they were trained to implicitly believe their leaders. Their leaders could not err. And so these missions were simply missions to kill spies, internal spies within the system.
Yes,
and they thought that's what they were doing, is ridding the system of its betrayers, of its traitors. He told me some interesting things about some of our special forces troops. I remember now, he was in the pay grade of either a lieutenant colonel or a colonel in the CIA. He was carrying out special CIA missions. to him, a CIA mission was something assigned by his superiors in the best interest of our country.
It's interesting because he's saying that that kind of money is on par with a colonel in the CIA. And recently I looked up what is the comparison of a GS-15 rank in the military, because that's what John Ramirez was, that's what Lou Elizondo was. They were GS-15s in the government, and that equivalent rank is a colonel.
And I found out that he was, in fact, a government hitman, that he had carried out his 18th hit just before he was reported to have incurred the disease. He had the physical where they discovered the disease and probably introduced it. And at that point, he retained that hit order as the proof of what was going on, and he gave me a copy of that. That hit was to kill another American sergeant, an Army sergeant, a senior forces, Special Forces Green Beret sergeant in the American Embassy in Budapest.
Whoa. This Ryan, oh my God, I cannot get his name right. Conor O'Ryan killed a American Green Beret at the American Embassy in Budapest. That's what this story is about.
And he had just, he told me he didn't have a chevron mark for this. I never did get a count on a mark, but he had a lot of chevron marks, vertical marks in a certain part of the shield. When I asked him about it, obviously he got $5,000 bonus for each special mission. And he had just finished his 18th. And by now I knew from seeing his papers that his special missions were murder, government executions.
I mean, if I was Wendell Stevens and I just happened to go through this dude's wallet while he was in the shower, who just came out of the bushes, essentially, to spill secrets and be a whistleblower and start telling me stuff, and then I find out he's a hitman, I'm probably going to run or do something extreme. I don't know. Just me? Is it just me or... Yeah, run, Wendell, run. Exactly.
This is the hit order that he received under his...
this is crazy, though.
In
Check
the
this out.
release with his clothes was the hit order and his instructions to report to... Says, Ghostwalker, you are to report to the American Embassy in Budapest, Hungary. You will be received by S.A. Grey Wolf. As a unit, you will proceed to terminate ex-S.A. David T. Johnson. That's the hit order.
Look, and he's going to show you this soon. It's. I mean, obviously, yes, it could be fake, of course. But, I don't know. I tend to believe it's not. And it's CIA stamped.
And there's David T. Johnson. He was a Army Green Beret.
I think we get a close-up.
Staff officer in the American Embassy in Budapest.
Murdered.
By Ryan O'Connor. Oh my God, Conor O'Ryan. My God. What are the names in Terminator? Am I getting mixed up with Terminator or something here?
By Conor O'Ryan.
By Conor O'Ryan. And his partner, they both put bullets in him. His partner was S.A. Grey Wolf.
Zoom in, you can see it's the
Here we go.
CIA.
Conor O'Ryan was Ghostwalker. When they were on missions like that, they were not allowed to exchange names.
John Connor, that's it. And Sarah Connor, yeah. Oh, I want to watch Terminator now. Should we watch Terminator after the stream?
He never knew who Grey Wolf was. He told me one time he was on a hit was partnered with a Vatican hitman on a hit.
Vatican
I didn't know the
hitman.
Vatican had hitmen.
Just your casual church hitman. Just your bloody religious killer.
You?
I had heard that they did, that they had their own secret service, but I didn't know that they put out hits, but they control so much wealth and they're so powerful within the scope of the planet that it makes sense. I mean, the leader of the Catholic Church right now is an ex-Nazi, right?
Yeah.
Pope Benedict what's his name? Pope
Ratzinger is his Benedict XVI, yeah.
Benedict the 16th or whatever.
Pope Benedict VI was a Nazi? Did anyone know that? Fucking wild. That is crazy. I mean, it makes sense, though, that the Vatican would have a secret service. Obviously, it's strange that they are it's a religious thing, But given that they have made themselves their own country, like already, why do you need to do that? That's already very sus. So like if you're going to make yourself a country, like, yeah, okay, the fact that you have a secret service does make sense, but it just compounds that you are extremely sus.
He's ex-Nazi.
Yeah, he was a Nazi youth, yeah.
Yeah.
Catholic Church supported the Nazis in the early days. Ah. History is written by the victors.
What's the purpose of this? Why is this in a file?
There was a helicopter crash in the S4 area that he told me that the crash was that the government sacrificed an airplane to dispose of 6 people. And these are people that the government killed off in Area 51 for reasons of their own. And they sacrificed a helicopter, sabotaged the helicopter, and killed them all on it. 3 of these workers were...
Whoa. Okay. They put a helicopter down that had their own workers on it for, I don't think he said why, but they crashed their own helicopter to kill these guys. That's extreme. That's extreme. Even, I believe nothing surprises me at this point, but that is crazy.
Were targets. The rest of them were accidental victims.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Do they sometimes accident whole groups of people together like that?
I don't know. So I said, don't you think you might become vulnerable here someplace along the way, that you know too much? He said, I think that's what's happened now. He said the 18th mission was an American Army Green Beret sergeant working in the American Embassy in Budapest. He was in level 2 of S4 when he found a note under his pillow after he'd gone off shift. Report to his sergeant. The sergeant handed him an envelope and told me the car was...
A note under his pillow? What is he, the fucking tooth fairy? I'm sorry, but like... your sergeant leaving notes under your pillow is weird. What are you guys fucking making out after work as well?
Was waiting to they drive him to Las Vegas to the bus station. When he got to the bus station in Las Vegas, he knew, having done this before, that he would look for a key taped to the back of the locker. So he felt around the back of the locker, so he found a key taped there. It had the locker number. He opened the locker and took out a valise, a traveling valise, nice one, with a suit of clothes, shoes, socks, shirt, tie, and everything for business travel. And he put those clothes on and put his clothes back in the locker, his Marine clothes back in the locker, and took the bus down to Los Angeles and the airline ticket to Budapest. They had a schedule and everything else on, so somebody had already coordinated. He didn't have a long wait anyplace. He rode the airliner on the ticket, got off in Budapest, was met at the airport by a car from the embassy, driven by the intelligence officer of the American Embassy in Budapest. He was driven to the embassy where they took up his American clothes and money and gave him Hungarian clothes, shoes, money, gun, bullets, and a key to an apartment they had rented in on another false name. He traveled on a false name from the facility to Budapest, another name in Budapest. He was paired with another hitman from another place, and they were given a mug sheet of their target, front and side views of his face, where he lived.
I've seen this picture pop up a few times, actually. I don't know where it's from. I don't know what the source is. I'm very confident that it's not an AI photo. It is an old photo. Does anyone have information on this? It is a very interesting photo. I'd love to hear if anyone sort of knows its source or maybe where it comes from.
Where he shot, the route he took to and from work, everything that they did, and they were given 3 days. On the second day, they executed him putting the groceries in his car in front of the supermarket with his 2 children in the car.
He would fit too, Olin. He'd fit perfectly.
Hurt him, but this man had been characterized to our Contra Orion as a traitor, selling secrets to the enemy, and they're trained to take care of traitors to this country.
Yeah, it does look like a TR-3B or some version of it. But I just don't know the actual like origin of that photo. Like where is it meant to have come from? What is it alleged to, you know, who put it out there and what did they say is kind of what I'm looking for.
He never knew the man. He didn't know anything about it. He only believed his superiors that he's a spy, caught in the act, and he has to be eliminated. They don't want to take the trouble for a trial and exposure and all that sort of thing. They just want it to stop. And that's the way they stop it. So,
guys, if there's any volume issues, just let me know, because this obviously the volume in this is kind of up and down, so I'm trying to adjust on the fly. But if it's too bad, just say something. I'll fix it.
this was the 18th one that he had done. And he told me that many of the other people that he knew who were also intelligence officers in that facility were also used the same way, carrying out important missions in the interest of the United States government. And the living facilities are to keep them there, to keep them from moving around in the public. Almost all of them are special forces troops, and that's where they're cooled. If they're carrying out hit operations for the government, they, just like the mafia, they take them someplace and cool them. If there's any evidence leading to him, it's not going to go anywhere because you can't find him. And they're safely stashed out there. There are others being used the same way. You know, this appalls me that our United States government, with our tax money, is executing its own citizens without a trial, without benefit, with no proof, only the proof or the evidence supplied by the superiors who can tell any story, and that's frightening.
That's what he's saying there is that the CIA just, like, you know, they don't have to go through legal processes. They don't have to ask anyone. They do what they want. They operate beyond the oversight of anybody. They're in their own rules. If there's someone is a problem, they can use one of these guys like Conor O'Brien, who is indoctrinated, who cries when he sees the flag, and gets them to go and take him out. And they think they're doing the country a service. And they don't have to tell anyone because they're CIA. In the last episode, someone tried to sue them for damages that they'd sustained there. And when they tried to sue them, the Air Force just classified the evidence that they were presenting to try and sue them with. Like, it's horrifying and hilarious at the same time. Mish said, my dad was Hungarian, came here in 1956, age 20. He told me of alien aircraft and people. Interesting, Mish. Tell us more. Tell us more about that. The sound is a little distorted. Maybe it's slightly too loud. Okay, I have turned that down a little bit. When it cuts to the interviews with Connor, then I have to change it. But I think I can kind of work with these parts with Wendell. Toxic Fart just woke up with $2. Thank you, my man. Thank you for being here, as always.
Frightening. So it didn't bother him at all about murdering people, except the last one, the 18th one, when he was sent to Budapest, Hungary, and found out that his target was a senior Army Master Sergeant in the Green Berets, just like himself, that had a lot of ribbons and medals and was getting paid well. And he was sent there to take him out. He was paired with another CIA agent, or another agent like himself, who was another Special Forces troop. And they were given Hungarian clothes and Hungarian weapons and ammunition, shoes and everything to do it. Mugshots of their
Hungarian clothes.
Kit, and where he lived, maps of where he lived, his routes that he traveled, where he went to church, where he went to the grocery store and everything. And they took him out together, one on each side of his car. When he came out of the grocery store with his groceries, putting them in his car, they hit him from both sides with his 2 teenage kids in the car. And they put 7 or 8 bullets in him, and he died. And they just pocketed their weapons and walked away in the crowd. They looked like everybody else there, and they went back to the American embassy, reported to the attaché, who gave them the clothes and the guns and the money.
That's, you know, obviously we don't know if this is true or not, but that's hard to imagine that this person was taken out by 2 CIA hitmen in front of their 2 teenage kids in the car. Imagine having your kids sitting in the back. Dad just gets 7 bullets put through him. That's crazy. That's tough. Sorry, I'm just looking for a chat. No, I think I've lost it. Let's continue.
The attaché gave them their clothes, but traveling clothes back, and drove them to the airport, and they went home. Now that's what a mission was.
That's it, Tommy.
These guys were exempt because they were carrying out a special mission, and they really believed this. They didn't feel bad about their hits. Because they sincerely believe that they all were traitors and enemies of the country.
That's it. You indoctrinate people enough and they follow. And that applies to all of society, not just the military. That applies to politics. Massively. Massively. People who just are glued to mainstream news are indoctrinated and are manipulated. Their emotions are like a puppet on a string, and the mainstream news is just constantly making them dance. It's sad. It's very sad. RL with the $10. Thank you for the super chat, my bro. Appreciate that one. He didn't leave a message, but if I see you in the chat, if you did that by accident, I'll try and read it out, brother. Thanks, man.
There's 4 levels in Site 4, excluding the top level, the surface, which is basically a hangars with the satellite. There's try not too much to it, but the levels are all operated. There's the first and second level, they're all elevator where they keep the flying ships, whatever you call it. They bring it to the surface. Right when I was there, they were trying to operate the disc, but to my viewing, unsuccessfully.
Okay, so he's talking about the UFOs now. And just following on what Mish said, she said, there's too much to tell in here, but as kids, we also had experiences with my dad. He used to speak for hours, totally believed, and said he met them as a kid. He said he thought they were dreams at the time. Yeah, that's a very common thing that we hear, right? That these things seem to take place in these like weird brain states that are somewhere between like conscious and unconscious.
There's scientists there. I have personally witnessed high White House officials being there.
Was there any reference to any of those dry lake beds?
No,
by name.
I didn't hear anything. I was being sensitive.
Was it called S4 or A4? S4. S4.
We called it. I mean, it was called a museum.
So for you to actually leave base or get on base, they would take you down in a government vehicle and drop you off where?
The Tropicana Hotel.
The Tropicana. So that was the pickup drop-off point.
At 12 o'clock on a Thursday evening. At the end of each month. The following Thursday was on the last Thursday of each month. And they would rotate. Every week they were taking somebody for the weekend. They were rotating their sentries. Yes, they dropped off at the Tropicana on Tropicana Boulevard. Right in the back. They just dropped us off.
And we had to stay with your group of people? Or?
No, we could drop and do what we wanted to. Like I said, if you can get me a view of the facility itself or give me the thing, I could recognize where I'm at and get on with it. Because, I mean, we could see through the front windshield driving, but you just didn't. I mean, there was like a cover gate, like a boot in a camper, like a little gate, and then the guy could shut it and open it at any given time. Most of the time it was open partially. You don't know where the hell we're going. I mean, my first thing I thought, that I was going to a secret Navy base myself when I got out. So my first visit.
But how long would you ride from you left from Nellis, did you?
Vegas.
From Vegas. How long was the ride from Vegas and turning back?
Well, we'd ride to Nellis, and at Nellis we'd ride for about another hour, stop for about 20 minutes, ride for another half hour, stop, ride for another hour, stop for about 10, 20 minutes to relieve ourselves, which was in back in the van. Then the guy would come around and empty the thing.
Josh, that photo of the TR-3B Black Manta had text written in German on it. Interesting. If you're in our Discord, drop it in there. I'd love to take a look at it afterwards. And someone says, does anyone know what the latest is with the film that Luigi's putting together, the Project Gravator you're talking about for Bob Lazar? I think that's been a whole coming soon for like a year now, so hopefully soon.
I think that they drove us around endlessly sometimes,
Since it was different times.
Different times. Sometimes we'd be there in 4 hours, sometimes be, 3 hours, sometimes it'd be 6 hours. It was, the security for the place for arriving and getting there is extremely strict. They don't.
So you couldn't sit down with a map and try to trace the route. It'd be impossible.
Yeah, even if you were sitting there, even if you're not allowed to have a pad and pencil in the van going there anyway. You're not allowed to. They take your watches, so you lose track of time. Honestly. You get your watches and jewelry back.
I'm going to put up a poll that I'm not 100% sure if you guys can change your answers as you go. They might lock in. But we're just going to put a poll up to see how people are feeling. Do you believe Connor O'Ryan is legit?
Get back to the facility itself.
So they didn't get to see the routes to and from as the transportation came and went. They weren't able to look out once they were in the bus. The facility, the doors were closed and then the windows were blacked out. Nobody could look in and they couldn't look out. Whack and Hut intelligence people controlled
Area 51.
51. They were driven in by Whack and Hut and they were watched by Whack and Hut. They could leave the facility, but they couldn't. Nobody could leave alone. They had to leave together at least, and they were required to watch each other.
Has any employee of Whack and Hut ever come out and described being a guard and what their duties were around Area 51, Groom Lake, or S4?
Yeah, I don't know of any.
So they're able to keep those people fairly quiet compared to some of the military people.
The business they're in, I guess they're scared enough, so they keep quiet. They drove them all the way back to S4, and it drove into a covered facility where they were taken out and went right into the reception room for level 1, which is all they ever saw.
We didn't discuss nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean,
I always think, what's the benefit of lying about any of this? Yeah, it's a great point. I think about that too. A lot of people will say, like, for fame or whatever, but I think that's just so short-sighted. Like, these people didn't get fame. I mean, who's heard of this guy? Who's heard of Conor O'Ryan? Not many people. Bob Lazar had his life ruined for like 30 years. Like I've said, if you decided to come up with a clever lie, think you could maybe make a few bucks, and then you told your lie, and everyone just laughed at you and your life got ruined for 10, 15, 20 years, you think you'd stick with it? I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't do it in the first place, but as soon as like everyone was like, aha, you freak, loser, you believe in aliens, they're not real, no one believes you, no one likes you, I'd probably be like, fuck, that was a mistake. Why did that? Oh, shit. Sorry, I wasn't thinking properly. Yeah, my bad. I wouldn't keep doing it for 30 years.
that's how the football team's doing it. You know, basic talk. We didn't never discuss. We picked up on nice, comfortable ride. We get to the gate. That's the way I always got there. I never personally drove there. I mean,
Was the gate an external gate? Was outside where the
yes,
went through?
You drove through this little like overhang, like an inspection center.
Oh, okay.
You get out,
Walk through the door.
friend. Once that passes identification, they take you to the other gates and they take you into the infirmary rally, or not the infirmary, but the watch commanders and the attendants in any individually polygraph this room. We had to sit. You couldn't go anywhere to your box here. Cubicles or anything
Until after you'd been polygraph.
after your polygraph training, you never were told if you passed or whatever. If you passed, I assume you just went back to work. You know what I mean? It was like they closed the watch.
Government is not going to open the files.
Sorry.
We have people.
I wanted to show you, Suki. I didn't consider that would kill the whole thing. It's right. I know roughly where we're at. We're about here.
Security all by themselves.
Wow, that's like exactly where we were.
Think around the facility.
I'm good.
And levels 1 and 2, I'd probably have to say maybe 75. Levels 3 and 4, I believe there's a whole new set of variations. As I say, we see people coming and going. As long as they get through that elevator, they come up to me. We don't ask no questions.
Swissmith says Greer hasn't changed his narrative in 30 to 40 years, but there's still something weird about him. Yeah, I agree. I haven't really dived into it, but that whole Israel connection thing is kind of weird. I don't know if there's something to that. And I think, sorry, first of all, Not Always Hand, thank you for joining the Members Club, our newest certified weirdo. Can we please get some loves and hearts in the chat for our latest member? The thing is with Greer, watch any interview with him. He doesn't even get interviewed. He just talks. He just talks over people. He just corrects people and goes, well, actually, Roswell happened this way. Like, everything has to be his way. He does say a lot of interesting things, but yeah. it seems very like short-sighted and strange to think all aliens are good, which is his take, right? All aliens are good. All abductions are just US military psyops. Like, that's too absolute for me. Life is not black and white like that. There are good and bad. I'm sure not every abduction encounter is just military. Like, it's just far too absolute for me.
Is that right? It's written we detain people. I've never detained. He's never detained. I was witness.
Let him finish.
Facility.
Do you want to talk about any of the base security systems? Detection equipment?
Yes, I know a little bit about it. Within a circumference of 200 yards completely surrounding the facility is all completely mined with explosives, what they call a C-26, which is a really super high.
That's right. There's good and evil in everything. What do we call that? What do we call that, team? There's good and evil in everything. There's a name for it.
Intensive plastic explosive, a lot different than C4. A lot more dense. Then there's an infrared system around, but there's 4 snipers on times with starlight scopes. And then there's laser setups all around, which present a problem a lot of times because of the environment outside was penetrated. I believe the last 2 months out there, they upgraded it so it had to be somebody walking on 2 legs to completely tell it. Be an upright walking person to penetrate it instead of a 4-legged. I mean, I guess these things, from what I've told, can determine.
That's it. Polarity, baby. That's the one. I think he's talking about beings now.
Weight when something walks through. Which are, I believe, are about 2 feet off the ground, which are disguised, I believe, in cactus. I've never seen anything out there, but that's what I've been told is out there. I mean, when we go out on a search patrol, they'll turn it off on the search patrol. So if anybody was going to penetrate the base.
Yin and yang works too. Don't worry, you're good. You're good. It's polarity.
If you're looking at a search patrol, then you know it's all right to get through the latest, to get through that security type of blanket. To get through the mines and stuff, you'd have to be an experienced. You're going to have to crawl on your belly for at least a half of a mile and jab and move and jab. Get through it. I mean, if they go off and you're within a 10-foot vicinity, then you're dead. That C-26 is a classified. I mean, it's supposed to be classified. I don't know where too many people know about it, but it's a high-grade explosive. It's a lot of times. As I say, satellites pass over that area. Especially, I mean, Eastern Bloc satellites used to pass. In the last couple of months, it's pretty.
In tomorrow's video, because we're going to be running these for the next couple of nights, in tomorrow's, I will try and make sure that this audio isn't cutting out so bad, because it is kind of taken away from it. I know. I'll try and fix that.
I assume they're still passing all over. They passed over pretty erratically, and they shut that place down. There's one satellite, I don't know the name of it, but when it passes over, we shut it down completely until it's completely up, and they open it back up again.
Bring everything inside. Like satellite.
It's like once every 2 days or something like that. It goes around. I know I assume it's a Russian, or it might even be one of ours that they don't want ours with a high sensitivity to see, some guy at I guess, the national security was pretty much controlled with Cheyenne, they jointly control those satellites. So.
He knew that sometimes the craft from level 2 were taken up to level 1 and taken out. They had to wait for the Russian satellites to pass. They'd get them all ready, so as soon as it passed, they could take them out and work on them until it was due again. They'd bring it back in and close the doors once more.
Okay, this is dirt road comes on. This is guardhouse 1. You have to drive into an enclosed building, a little one. Guard comes out, you can go over here for a thumbprint, checking your identification. There's 2 other gates you gotta go through, but being security personnel, we never had to go through that. We would just go straight through. Now, the facility here is the ground level facility where they bring the disc up themselves. Door right here completely opens up. There's a big.
So it sounds like he's describing what, funnily enough, Stephen Greer has talked about a lot, and that is that these platforms open up in the ground and the craft come up. Well, I mean, obviously these things are underground, so it makes sense, right? That a hatch would open in the ground and the craft just literally straight up. That's what he's describing, and I think it's what he's drawing. I'm not sure if we get a good look at his picture though, but I know in the following videos tomorrow, we do get a look at some of the stuff that this guy has brought forward.
Satellite, and kind of in the rear here, and there's one in the front over here. It's pointing, he's pointing straight up at all times. The mess hall is over in this corner. There's a door to the parking lot, which is a wall, and you can come right into the mess hall. Goes around the hallway.
So, you know what we need? Like, I think he's drawing the layout of S4 right now. Let's put that next to what Bob Lazar's drawn, because I'm pretty sure Bob Lazar has detailed it, right? I would love to see these two things put next to each other.
Over here is, say the CIC center, like on a ship, where they monitor satellites. Anything if anything's moving over the facility, then they'll shut it down for a while. I've never been in it. I've looked inside it, but I've never walked in. But it looks like a submarine control size. Over here is a big access door.
Ryan says only a many years retired SEAL would unlikely consider wearing that hat. I mean, I'm not a SEAL, so I can't comment on that. But this was in the 90s, early 90s. So, I don't know. Maybe things are a bit different back then. Maybe not.
Now they bring the disc up one at a time. They never bring up more than one at a time. These are like the platforms that they bring them up on.
Yeah, Ashton's coming on this weekend for a
bring
live
on
stream.
Outside if they're going to try to activate it in some way.
So this is like an open hangar, elevated platform.
Yes.
Forward.
Big storage. I mean, it doesn't look very big from the outside. I mean, it's because the discs themselves aren't very. I mean, they're. I mean, I would say it's about 30 feet, 35 feet tall.
No, Kim, it's not the UFOs. It's a hatch in the ground to give an exit point from the deep underground facility for the UFOs. So the UFOs are deep underground in these facilities, but there is a hatch that opens in the ground so the craft can go straight up into the sky. Does that make sense?
This is all open right here. This is, there's a lot of equipment laying around. I don't even know when I begin to explain what it is, but I have no idea really what it is. It looks like the cartoon upright.
It's a really interesting point, Crippled, there, that Stephen Greer's interview on Joe Rogan is one of very few that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it exists, but not from Joe Rogan uploading it. There's copies of it out there.
Computer diagnostic and stuff. And
that doesn't happen often.
That's all this is under a roof, except for the parking lot over here.
How about
I see what you did there, Alpha.
I've never seen an airplane ground or take off. I've seen helicopters come and go, which is a pad about half a block back. It's like a little pad.
This is his sketch of the layout.
Here we go.
At level number 1.
So this is level 1 of S4. I guess that's S1. I think. I could be wrong there. I can't believe you didn't go to Storm Area 51 in 2019. Wait, did I go? No, absolutely not. I would never do that. That's retarded. Respectfully, I would not do that shit.
Showing the disposition of the facilities on the floor. It does not show the bays there over here.
Number 1 is basically your living quarters. It's 4 security detachments. Each has their own thing. 1 security detachment takes care of complete exterior of the facility around it constantly. 1 security detachment is gate and entrance. 1 security detachment is the levels, what I did. This is 2, 3, and 4. And detachment 1 is your snipers. That's big. They keep everybody compliant because we're not allowed to interact with any other security detachments whatsoever. We're not allowed to talk to them. We can talk to the people in our detachment only, for a ball game. No shot talk, anything like that. And then back here, right here is like, right here is a medical infirmary that they do. There's a naval corpsman. They give us right here is another security office. Like examinations. Right here is pictures of everybody. It's like an office break room, like with everybody in the facility, with the exception of the people in level 3 and 4.
Do they have to do this on the ground? Yeah, from my understanding, they intentionally wanted to go somewhere just kind of like, you know, not in a home, not something that could be bugged, like just literally in a bunch of trees. What was the YouTube documentary from your last TikTok? It was, if you go to the live stream, it's linked in there. So that live stream was the Breakaway Civilization one a couple of days ago.
It's all open right here. See, it's all you see is the block. Okay, first thing we do is we go to gate number 1. All line up, which is usually 4 of us at the same time we picked up. All subject our thumbs to a prime, taken into a back, taken into, ushered through the next 2 gates, taken into level 1. There's an office there. We go through a polygraph examination. After the polygraph examination, if your results were bad, which I've never heard of anyone being bad, flunking your polygraph. No one's ever just disappeared from the security detachment I was with. But you're subjected to a polygraph examination every time you come back.
Every time getting a polygraph. The thing is, with Stephen Greer, even his own whistleblowers have like said, like Michael Herrera and Jake Barber, I don't know about Jake Barber, I think, but Michael Herrera has definitely said Stephen Greer interprets information that he gets through his own lens that he has crafted over 30 years of being in this space. So it's very, you know what I mean? Like he has his own view and he filters the information he gets through his own view. He doesn't use that information to keep adjusting his filter. His filter is set and the information goes through that and you get this, all the military are a psyop and all aliens are good. So yeah, I think we need to remember that. Even his own whistleblowers are a bit sussing him. Josh, say Barber again. Barber? Jake Barber? Jake Barber?
1 weekend.
Oh, a bit of Bob?
I began looking for sketches done by Bob Lazar over various interviews. Here's some of the sketches done. These were done for Best Evidence, a video documentary, Best Evidence. And he made other sketches for other presentations. He eventually sketched all of the craft at level 1. And there were some that were quite different. These are images that he
It
came from various interviews with Bob Lazar. This was an interview for a document drawn by Bob Lazar also.
Huh. Bob Lazar drew that. Interesting. Because these days, he's pretty, like, apprehensive to talk about any beings that he saw there. He kind of, like, really reels that back. It seems like he was maybe a bit more confident in his own claims back then. Remember, this is early 90s.
I don't know where he got the image of the alien. I don't know that he had any contact with aliens. So there was the last sketch by Bob.
No, this is Bob Lazar too. Wow.
Lazar.
Do you think it was possible that Orion was a CIA disinformation agent who was
Here we go. He's asking the big question. Is Ryan a CIA disinformation agent?
posing as a S4 sentry to discredit Lazar's testimony or confuse
He
Lazar's
didn't seem to
testimony?
know anything about Lazar's testimony.
Personally heard of Bob Lazar. But I personally just heard of him in the last 2 months I was there. We were never told anything about him. As I say, I think when they transferred security, I think they did a complete detachments to completely eliminate, and I don't know what they do with the rest of the personnel because I've never got to that stage. I was discharged.
Vladimir says from Lazar. Excuse me. Where did your comment go? I wanted to read it. Basically, I don't know why it's disappeared. But you're saying from Lazar to Michael Herrera, it's all just a ploy to keep eyes off of the private industry. I get your angle, but I mean, Herrera and Lazar, it's kind of like eyes are on the private industry. I mean, in Lazar's case, they're talking about 9 craft at S4, the sports model that the private industry are trying to reverse engineer. And Michael Herrera is talking about a 300-foot octagon craft to transform psionics for the military-industrial complex. In my opinion, that's eyes on. That's eyes on the military-industrial complex and private industry.
For medical reasons, because I am basically medically unfit to perform my duties anymore. Bob Lazar, I don't know too much about him. I know I can't say for sure if he was a resident there. I've never seen his photographs of him, but they keep all that under wraps. If there have ever been security breaches, they're not going to tell you. I've never heard his name mentioned at the facility.
Interesting. Reckons he doesn't know much about Bob. Dusty says we need new videos and pictures. Oh, Dusty, didn't you see? Disclosure happened yesterday, actually. Jeremy Corbell just put out a video that's solved the whole thing. So yeah, it's all done.
Well, from what I hear, he describes the facility very good in detail.
I'm sorry, I probably shit on him a bit too much. I actually like Jeremy. I just like to shit on his videos, but I actually like him. I think that's probably an Aussie thing to like just shit on people you like.
He was only hired by the Atomic Energy Commission people to do some back engineering because of his engineering expertise. Others later, Huff and John Lear, went to where Bob Lazar lived in Los Alamos, and they got pictures of his house. They got a telephone book with his address at that house in it and his telephone number. They even found a picture in the newspaper of...
It's actually an Australian love language. You know, like you're good friends when you just like tear shreds off of each other. That's true love, bro. That's how we show love down here.
Him showing his home-built jet car, so that made Edward Teller the liar in the whole deal. He knew Bob Lazar.
What else do you know about Ed Teller in connection with Area 51, Groom Lake, and S4?
Well, Edward Teller was the head of the Atomic Energy Commission and was therefore the overall head of all of the Groom Lake operations. S4 and Area 51, all of it had Edward Teller, for instance, one time, who was the head of all of the Atomic Energy Commission facilities, which included Area 51 and Los Alamos and all the big, most secret facilities this country has. He said he told them he didn't know anything about UFOs. At the same time, we know that a few years before that, in 1968, he held a conference in his center facilities there at Los Alamos for 18 people, a progress review conference, to find out why we hadn't solved the technical problems on an operational UFO that we had recovered. And one of the alien occupants of that UFO was sitting across the table from my friend Bill Uhouse, an engineer, a simulator engineer there.
We're going to hear from him. Bill Uhouse is a guy who allegedly flew a UFO simulator, like a test pilot for UFOs in a simulator. We're going to hear from him in the coming days as well. Yeah, lots of people. Yeah, the British, the Aussies, they kind of have the same idea. If my friends aren't shitting on me, I'm like, bro, do you still like me? Bro, you haven't teased me for a week. Are we still friends?
Who was working with the alien on trying to bridge the technology between their technology and ours. And from 54 to 68, they hadn't succeeded in making any real significant progress. And this is what the meeting was all about. Why aren't we able to do this? And the alien indicated that their technology requires a certain amount of mental input that we have never learned to impart.
So maybe
psionics. He's talking about psionics, talking about consciousness interfacing with craft.
It has to do with a certain type of brainwave activity, and you have to be in a certain
brainwave pattern too, that I'm not familiar with.
Brainwave pattern. And so these are the bits that are really compelling for me. Like when we hear these recurring themes over decades, it's 30 years ago, and not only that, like that in itself is compelling for me, but the type of content, okay? Psionics, consciousness interfacing with craft in 1991 would have been enough to just get you slapped in the face and told where to go. Like that shit in the 90s, no chance, bro. What do you think this is? Star Trek? Get out of here.
The same guy that sitting at the head of the table,
but here we are.
With all of his scientists around there, years later is lecturing in Dallas for MUFON and says he doesn't know anything about UFOs.
And Ed Teller, isn't he also the one who Bob Lazar claimed hired him to work at Area 51 and S4?
On crashed UFOs.
Right.
Edward Teller, and that's who we saw at the end of the last stream, was pressed on camera about Bob Lazar and started chewing on his glasses going, oh, I don't want to talk on camera about Bob Lazar. I'm not going to say anything. Okay, bro, tell me you're lying without telling me you're lying.
But he doesn't know a thing.
Said he didn't know anything about UFOs.
And was Edward Teller involved in the program as far back as the initial beginnings of Project Red Light?
He had to be. He was there during he took over after the atomic bomb project was finished and we began manufacturing bombs in quantity. He was still the head of the Atomic Energy Commission, had the most secure facilities in the whole United States. So that's why the crashed UFOs were taken to Atomic Energy Commission property, where they had super secret, secure facilities. The only other place that housed a lot of this stuff that was being recovered was the White Sands Missile Test Range, which was equally secure in
White Sands Missile Test Range. It's another interesting place. That is going to wrap us up for today's episode. So we have about 4 hours of footage left. I don't know if we'll look at all of it. I'm going to comb through it, kind of probably try and piece together something for maybe the next 3 nights. What does that put us at? What is it now? It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday morning is the live stream with Ashton. So that could kind of work out. So that's what we're doing. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to be continuing these secrets of S4, hearing from Wendell Stevens, Bob Dean, more from Connor O'Ryan as well. I'm going to make sure I fix the sound tomorrow, so you're going to be able to hear it a lot better. If there's sort of like any breaking news, any sort of stuff aside from this, we'll probably talk about it in the morning for me, which is probably at night for most of you. So yeah, we're pumping out the live streams at the moment. I think I'm going to start... I'm doing a lot of my content live because I just enjoy it. And if it kind of still works with YouTube and the algorithm, then I don't see why not. I enjoy kind of having the interaction with you guys. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to end the poll there. 63% so far are sitting on Connor O'Ryan being legit. Interesting. I thought it was maybe going to be a bit more unbalanced than that. But there we go. Maybe we'll keep running that poll and we'll see if things change throughout the week as we go. But I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. It's super interesting stuff. And I like the fact that, you know, even I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this. I'm feeling a little bit sus on Connor O'Ryan too, but we'll see. We'll see how things pan out. Thank you all for being here. Join our Discord. Maybe we'll stream a movie or an episode. It's not too late. We'll see. Get in there. Maybe I'll put up a poll on what we can watch. But if you're not, I'll see you next time. Be good, be kind, get outside, touch grass, and take care. I'll see you soon.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.